Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, you know who's over there. My main man Reggie. What's going on, Reg?
What up, Doe? The-
Not much. Starting out a little tongue tied here, but hey,
Well,
you gotta professionally work through that.
well, it is draft week, man. I know you're just probably just a little excited
Exactly,
because this
exactly.
is draft week and our franchise altering decision will be made in 48 to 72 hours, man.
Yeah.
It is an exciting time.
Well, and while drafts aren't made or or total failures off of one pick. Washington will have the brightest of spotlights on our number two pick starting out. But before we get there, we can talk about some generalities of the draft. And one of the observations going into this is we all, as fans, are speculating on who they may or may not draft, but there hasn't even been the slightest little clue or hint or anything coming out of uh coming out of Commander's camp. You know,
Love
um,
it.
no,
Love
nobody's
it.
slipping up, nobody's saying it. I mean, not even trying to send somebody in another direction, right? Um, and that's fine. That's 100% fine. We all like to just hinge on every single word or syllable phrase that they say, but there's been nothing, radio
No,
silence almost.
and as I said, I love it. And a lot of people are saying that um, the draft doesn't start until the second pick because it's a foregone conclusion that Chicago is going to take Caleb Williams, and
Right.
so at that point, no one knows what Washington is planning to do. The only general consensus among the football world is that we're going to go quarterback, which again we could still trade back because people don't know which quarterback. Now,
Right.
do I think they will? No, but the potential is there. I'm not gonna say anything is absolute. And I've been one of the ones who said everyone just assumes that Caleb Williams would be picked by Chicago. What if Chicago like some of these other guys? What if they like Jake Daniels? But nonetheless, none of this is an absolute other than people have no idea who we're going to pick at number two. And that seems to be the only thing that people are in agreement on. Other than that, they are
Yeah.
all over the place on who Washington plans to pick at number two.
Well, and there's a ton of speculation, right? I mean, even like I said, starting out, even Chicago, but at some point, there's the potential for a shock, right? If they don't take Caleb Williams, that's going to be like a nuclear bomb blowing up because everything's going to start moving. Everybody's going to scramble. Now maybe everything gets reset because they take, let's just say they take Drake May. Washington takes Caleb Williams. Well, now everything's kind of reset going forward. But the first three or four moves could really throw things out. I mean, to your point, I don't think there's any chance it's going to happen. But, if Washington thinks that Michael Penix out of Washington is the best quarterback that suits them, they know they don't have to pick him at two, right? They can drop down to 4 or 5, and somebody at 5, 6, 7 would definitely want to jump up, and Penix will probably still be there, right? So it's a gamble, but they could get a mint for this year and next year to do that.
Correct.
That would be a great situation, but man, anybody who's at a sports bar watching this, man, they're gonna better not have any food or drink in your mouth when that happens, because that beer is going to be sprayed everywhere. Nachos are going to go flying. Wings are going to go across the room in shock. Um, but we shall see. It's going to happen at some point. Somebody's going to make a move, a big trade, something, and it almost always revolves around quarterback.
So what if Washington trades back? How you feel about it? Regardless of the player, let's just say Washington just does a trade back, right?
Right.
How you feeling?
Nervous, but it's gonna show me that if and I'm just using that as an example. If they're trading back to number 7, then they feel like what is perceived as the 1-2-3 quarterback of Williams, Daniels, and Drake May are perceived as 1-2-3. That's not their order, right? So they've got Penix, they've got JJ McCarthy, they've got somebody else that they plan on picking. Would be my
okay. But are you okay with it? Would you be okay with it?
Yes, I would be nervous, but that goes to tell me they have a plan.
Okay, all
right? Because they're in control. They're not reacting at that point. If it had been in reverse and all of a sudden stuff starts moving, if they're at number 5, 6, 7, and things start, there's all kinds of turmoil up front of people jumping up and taking a quarterback, and there's a run on an extra quarterback or two that you thought might be there. Now you start getting nervous because you're like, man, the guy that I wanted, 1 or 2 players that I thought were going to be there, all of a sudden they're mysteriously gone. Right. And so you have to change your strategy overall. And when you need a quarterback as bad as Washington needs a quarterback, again, I think that's why they stay at 2. It's not worth the gamble to slide to 3, 4, 5 and pick up that other guy. But
it's funny. They tell you that during this time of the year, you want to believe nothing, right? Everything is a smokescreen, but yet we're asked to believe and trust Adam Peters when he says that he doesn't see a scenario in which they're going to trade back from the number 2 spot. So which is it? Does he truly mean that? And they're going to get a guy, just no matter which one, or it's don't believe everything you hear because it's all a smokescreen, right? A lot of lies, a lot of stories get told. So I don't know. I've maintained a position of I'm going to trust this whole process, and whatever happens is going to happen. I've not gotten into any Twitter beefs with people about which quarterback, which camp I'm in, which guy is better. I don't care because we know what the odds are. We know the statistics are that a lot of these guys aren't going to work out either way. We know that there is question marks about each and every one of them. You don't have that one guy that everyone says that he's that generational talent. There's question marks about all of them. So for me, it's about picking the guy that's going to fit whatever they're trying to build over in DC. And I don't care which guy that is.
Yeah. And I think when you look at certain teams, that I'll definitely say Chicago's in this camp that I'm about to explain. Washington is borderline getting there. When you're bringing in a young quarterback, so much of the person's success obviously is with the coaches, but it's also the team around you. Case in point, last year, look at Houston versus Carolina. Carolina's a bad team. Carolina's a bad team, whether that quarterback was something special or he ends up being extremely average. That's a bad team. So he doesn't have a lot of tools around him. They traded away tools, let tools leave for him, to where Houston did the opposite. They hit on their quarterback, but then the very next pick they hit on a defensive end. They had offensive and defensive rookie of the year there, and other moves that they did were successful to put a good team around him. I think Washington is doing that, along with obviously the number 2 pick, the additional 5 picks in the next 2 rounds, in the second round and third round currently. It is a lot to put around him. They had a lot of money in free agency, and they still have money in free agency, right? If they don't, we can talk about this in a little while, but if they don't get that player that they want in this draft, they can go out and get a player in free agency. Now, a lot of the high big name free agents obviously are gone, but there are tackles and wide receivers and cornerbacks out there that you can go sign a 1 year, 2 year till you get that young stud that you look for next year in the draft. We don't have to build this team in 1 year. And I know that's what everybody wants, right? We're gonna fill every hole on this draft. The reality is
Right.
that's not going to happen. We want it to happen, but the reality is it's not going to happen.
Right. Now, one big difference, and I know you're not really um, comparing Washington to Houston, you know, point by point, but I will say one of the biggest differences is the fact that Houston had 2 high draft picks,
Correct.
where, in the first round, and so they was able to maneuver that and get their cornerstone guys on offense and defense. They also had a Pro Bowl, All Pro left tackle already on the roster. They had some key young guys in the wide receiver and running back position. They wasn't
Yeah, they had a team. They
covered.
had a team around
Yeah,
the quarterback. Is
they
my
had
point. Yes.
right. And so we've tried to do that in free agency, and obviously uh, brought in some guys. We have some talent on the team, so we are probably trying to replicate that to some degree. Excuse me. I don't think we'll have that same type of Houston turnaround, but I like the direction they're going in, and so therefore I don't think we have to reach in this draft because, again, unlike years past, the free agents we brought in this year are starting caliber free agents. You can question whether or not they're long-term answers here, but they're good enough to play and play sound, solid football at their positions next season.
Right.
And then so now they're going to try to draft guys and develop guys that when those veteran guys that they brought in this year are on their way out the door, there's someone to come in and step in behind them. So it was very important what they did, and the plan, the scheme, and everything that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and those guys put together, man, has me pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
excited.
they've up to this point, the Commanders camp, which includes everybody, has it looks like they've implemented, a plan, and there's always so many moving parts, but they've done a good job at putting a plan in place for a solid team to build off of. Like I said, if they do, I think they actually might do better in the draft overall than they did in the free agency. Free agency was more of core players. If you look at the people that they went and got, they didn't go get that high impact player. The draft may be where they go and do that, where you have a young, 21, 22, 23-year old at a flash position, your wide receivers and obviously quarterback and other positions. And you have them for more of the long-term future. But we'll see. I mean, part of Washington's process was to bring in a large group of draft prospects and got them together and took them a night on the town to eat and swing some golf clubs at Top Golf. If you heard that story, what do you think about that, Reg?
Yeah, I did hear the story. You know, my initial reaction was, "Huh, okay, that's pretty cool." Different. I had not ever heard of anything where you bring in a bunch of picks like that together, um, to do something, all in the same day like that. But when I heard about it, it didn't make me go, "What the hell are they doing?" Um, but again, if you're on social media or you're listening to any of the ESPNs and NFL networks and things, a lot of people had some issues with it, and they didn't understand it. And just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to do. But people seem to be critical of the decision. I I didn't think a whole lot about it, and I really didn't care. But it has since come out that although they had these guys in all together, Washington still had their one-on-one time with these guys,
Sure.
right? So The whole point is getting one-on-one time, and guess what? They still get one-on-one time. And then there's some other ancillary type things that they can deem from having all these guys together, but just going out and being together in a group, and you get to see a dynamic. As they said, who do guys seem to who gravitate toward? Which guy seems to be a little bit standoffish? Which guy kind of goes into a shell? Which guy seems to be a little bit selfish? I mean, there's a little bit of things that you're not going to get on a one-on-one, because one thing we do know is that agents from the college level to their agents, to the PR people at the major universities, to the PR people that they've hired since declaring for the NFL draft, there's people that have been preparing them all along the way on what to say, what to do, how to act. All of a sudden, you bring all them dudes together, and it's like they never told you how to act in this environment. So there was something different here that they hadn't seen before. Will it ever be done again? Maybe, maybe not. But in this case, it worked. But it goes back to what we said earlier: is no one knows what Washington's going to do. So what Washington does is they bring in all 4 quarterbacks. You don't know which guy we brought in first. You don't know which guy we brought in last, because guess what? We brought them all together. Right. No one knows what was said, who was said. But I did see a thing with Drake May, and Drake May said he reiterated that they all went out to dinner, they went to steak plays, they played golf. That was all the stuff they did together. And at night, he says, but during the day, he says they all had their one-on-one time with all the coaches and stuff like that. So they still had that alone time that you would get on a top 30 visit, man. So it was a lot to do about nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah. When I heard about it, I was kind of like, I was borderline, start off kind of like that. Interesting. And then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought it was a good thing. And the main reason was, almost kind of what you had said was, what you insinuated there was, these players, to your point, with their agents, with their managers, with their coaches, their moms and dads, they've got all their answers rehearsed, right? What makes you a good player? I mean, they got it memorized, right? They have been going to school for 2 or 3 months doing nothing more than training for interviews. The constant interviews. Oh, nope. Answer it this way. Answer this. That's let's emphasize this. Let's emphasize that. And so again, to your point, when you get them in a group setting and everybody starts cutting up and high-fiving each other or laughing at somebody that's never golfed, and they're, they look like a fish out of water swinging a golf club. How are you? Are you laughing but encouraging? Or are you laughing and insulting? Right? You start to let your guard down because you can't be this artificial person all the time. And I think that's healthy. It's not that that is the ultimate whether I'm going to draft you or not, but it may tweak something, right? Somebody just something rubs me wrong about that player. And I'm not saying it's a quarterback. It could be a 3rd round guy that all of a sudden you're like, I don't know. We've got 3 guys that we think are going to go to the 3rd round that are all guards. I don't know. He just didn't jive with everybody. Something about him rubbed me wrong. I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take one of these other 2 guys.
Right. Absolutely.
And sometimes those little things is what does it. But anyway, I never had a problem. I'm curious, people that criticized it, real quick, I don't want to keep on going down this road for too long. The people that criticized it, what did they criticize? What was the negative perception?
The only thing I heard was that it was mind games. It was very immature. You're playing games with these guys, and it was
ridiculous.
You brought them all in, so how could you get your alone time? And again, you're being critical of something that you're not in the building to know what they did. And we later have come to find out that San Francisco did it, which is why Adam decided to do it here in Washington.
Right.
But apparently a lot of teams do it. They may not bring in 20 guys,
right,
but they bring in guys, multiple people at the same time. So what Washington did was not anything unique, but yet we got criticized. And you could easily make the case that some of this is just still the national media just likes to dog on Washington because we've been uh, ran like a joke organization for many, many years under the leadership of Dan Snyder. So therefore, whenever Washington does something, it's looked at a little different because I guarantee you, one of these Kansas City Chiefs, Pittsburgh, New England had brought in all 4 quarterbacks. They were looking for a quarterback. It would have
Right.
been a great and a smart move by that organization.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
if
But
Pittsburgh would have done it as an example that has a, or Baltimore, I'd have been like, man, that's how teams run. That's how
the good teams do it, right?
Exactly.
But all of a sudden we do it, and it's a dumb idea, and this is I don't understand what they're doing. You don't need to understand.
Right.
Damn it, Adam Peters knows what he's doing. He understands it, and that's what matters.
Right.
So, anyway,
as we get going in the draft, I don't know if anybody else has looked out there. I know I've done it. I started off doing it once or twice, and I found myself 4 or 5 times last night finding a couple different websites where you can do a simulation draft. You go out there and you pretend that you're Washington, and the computer will automatically pick players. We did that last week we were guests on the BGO Blind Pig podcast. If you haven't ever checked them out, check them out. They do a good podcast. They got 4, 5, 6 guys that kind of rotate around, and they're all guys from different parts of the country, and collectively they do a podcast about the
very good guys, man.
Yeah, good guys.
Very cool, good guys, man. They've had us on a couple times actually.
Yeah, but I found myself I had to stop because I'm like, all right, after I've done like the 27th version of this simulated draft, I keep on gravitating to the same 4 or 5 players at certain rounds. So I had to stop doing that and try to, and then you can even propose drafts. I'm just throwing that out there so other people can go look at it, be entertained, be annoyed with it, whatever. Kind of fun, but you waste a little bit of time. It's as a Commanders fan, it's a little bit better than sitting for a couple hours wasting time on TikTok, right?
Yeah. Well, with that, since you've done a couple mock drafts, then let's go ahead and decide who. If you were the GM and Thursday night is upon us, Roger Goodell, Washington Commanders are on the clock. Who's Ken picking?
Caleb Williams has been taken, correct? That's just a given at this point.
Let's go with it because that's what everybody says here. So
yeah. I think almost Chicago has almost even said that themselves. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think I covered it before about originally I was in the Drake May camp. Real quick, I have since moved after watching a lot of film. And I'm on the Jaden Daniels side of the house. I wouldn't have a problem if Adam Peters goes with Drake May or any other quarterback at this point. But if I'm staying at that pick and I'm taking Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU. Yourself, Fred.
Taking James Daniels? No, I'm just kidding.
James Daniels. Did I say that? I didn't say that, did I?
Oh, no, not this time, but you did the other time.
No, I didn't. I didn't say James Daniels. I'll mess up a word. Reggie's accurate on that part, but I did not say James Daniels.
Oh, God.
Some people probably say Jack Daniels, right?
Oh, they probably do.
And
they probably had some. That's why they say that.
Exactly.
So for me, man, listen, just like you, I've not jumped on anybody's bandwagon this entire offseason. For me, it's always been, I don't care. You just get the right one, Adam. I don't care what his name is, whether it's Jaden Daniels, James Daniels, Drake April, Drake May. Just get the right one. But the closer we've gotten, I have kind of leaned toward Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
But almost to the point that if they were to go opposite of Jaden Daniels, I think now today I would probably be a little disappointed. But I would not sit here and be critical and crucify the front office because they didn't choose the guy that I was leaning toward. I'm just
Right.
gonna go. They have done that every step along the way with the ownership, the GM hire, the head coaching hire. Everything they've done has been a process. They've been very diligent about it and it's run through it. And if they don't pick the guy that I just kind of casually lean towards, as in Jake Daniels, and they go a different route with the guy, listen, man, I'm still going to support and I'm still going to root for that particular guy because I'm going to say they know a hell of a lot more about this kid than I do. Because I haven't gone and watched the films. I didn't sit back and interview this kid. I've not talked to any of his coaches, any of the teammates, all the stuff that they're doing. Because one thing I do know, outside of this fan base, and as wide as this fan base reaches, the people who want to get this pick right more than us is Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. So if they're going to pick the guy that they think is going to help, because they do not want to start this tenure off with the Trey Lance 2.0 decision. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
they're going to try to get this right. More so than even I wanted, more so than you can and any of the rest of the Commanders fans. They're going to try to get it right. So if that guy is not Jake Daniels, then I'm cool and I'm going to roll with it. But if
Yeah.
I was picking, I would probably say Jake Daniels.
Yeah. There are exceptions, but especially when you're a new coach, new GM, you swing and miss on your quarterback, especially if it's a bad miss. That's as they like to say, that's a coach killer, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to make him fit for the next 2 or 3 years. You have 2 or 3 years that you're not successful, and they go, well, time for the new coach. Well, it wasn't necessarily the coach. It was not the coach didn't have any input, but maybe the GM chose the wrong quarterback at that point. But let's not be there. Let's get this right. Everything, the winds have changed in Washington, and I think we're going to hit on the quarterback. I think the process that they're going around to make him successful is only going to help him. And my only, if I have one drawback, and maybe this is a little bit out of our control, the only drawback I have so far this year of moves that we've made or not made, I would have loved to have seen Jacoby Brissett signed again for at least another year, because then there wouldn't have been the pressure on whoever we draft to be the number one quarterback opening day. With Marcus Mariota, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback to be ready. First snap, first game.
I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I understand the advantage of having a Jacoby Brissett because he was the ultimate pro, and I think he would be a huge benefit to a young rookie quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to make sure that they're building a team around to where he's not having to do what Sam did this previous year, throwing the ball 40 times a game. I do not think that is going to be the plan. So,
Yeah.
And even if they do throw a rookie quarterback in there and he's not ready from a pass game perspective, I think they're going to scheme it to the point where we're going to try to do the things he can do best. A la, if you remember the first couple of years in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson ran the ball a lot. Right. He passed some, but he ran the ball a lot. They schemed up an offense and built it around him. And he continued to work at the craft to where he's where he can be a pocket passer like we see today. But early part of his career, man, that guy wasn't throwing a lot.
Right.
In fact, he was leading the team in rushing a lot of times. So I think they'll try
Sometimes
to
scheme
up and do better. Yeah,
sometimes he still.
But they'll try to scheme that up to benefit and get the rookie quarterback in there as he learns. So I'm not too worried about it.
So
but where the draft gets interesting, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead of here.
Go.
Is for us, it's those 2 picks in the second round, picks in the second round.
And that's exactly where I was going. We get happy with the quarterback that whoever we pick at number 2, But by the time we get to, the 10th, 11th pick, the excitement is worn off. And now all we're doing is watching players go off the board that maybe we were hoping that fall. Washington doesn't, to your point, doesn't pick again until the 36th pick. I think it's 36 and 40. And I think most fans would love an offensive tackle, a left tackle, to be sitting there with our very next pick. If you asked, all the fans, probably 80% of them at least would say just position. Don't even mention a name. Say, I want a left tackle there with the second pick, because that's the most glaring high value hole that we have right now.
Okay.
Again, that's not moving. That's just saying if we stay there at 34.
Well, we'll make this quick. So obviously those two picks at number 36 and 40 are going to be very critical for us. So with that being the case, what position would you target at the number 36 pick, and what position would you target if they stay put, number 36 and number 40? You don't have to give me a name, just give me a position you target.
To me, again, it's how things fall. And with the offensive tackles, it's going to be interesting. If you, to me, I think 36 and 40, give me an offensive, just right off the cusp real quick, give me an offensive tackle and a wide receiver. But that's dependent on the board. On the offensive tackles, there are 7 roughly, depending on who you're looking at ratings wise. In the top 35, there are about 7 offensive tackles, but there could be a run, right? There could be a run in that somebody that you think might stay there at 34 might end up being taken because, there's a run on tackles. Same thing could happen with wide receivers. So, a wide receiver could slide, a tackle could slide. On the offense, on the tackles, once that first 6 or 7 go, then the value drops into really the third round, mid third round. And so you have this gap of who are you going to take at 36 and 40 if all the tackles are gone of that value. You don't want to at 36 take an offensive tackle because you're in so dire need that you're reaching for the.
I know. And I understand all that. We don't know how the draft's going to fall, but as of now, what's your target? I mean, obviously you're going to pivot.
Offensive, a left tackle and a wide receiver.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you all of that. I'm going to say offensive tackle and tight end.
Tight end that early?
If he's a game changer, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, from most of the things that I see, I don't know that there's any. Is there a tight end even worthy of the second round? Maybe one. I don't think there's any tight ends.
We know Bowers is going to be gone. Right? We know Bowers is going to be gone in the first round. But yes, I would rather get me a pass catching tight end here in the early second round if there's one sitting there that's worthy of the pick, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at, again, I have something pulled up here that ranks players. Again, how Washington ranks players and how this particular website ranks players could be very, very different. They have Bowers. This is overall rank at 14th best player. The next one is tight end out of Kansas State, and he's all the way down at 54. So you're looking at third round value there, not the first half, 2 picks first half in the second round. You're reaching by an entire round there. So I don't see that happening for a tight end. I don't disagree that is a spot that I would definitely want to fill in the third round.
Well, I certainly do not want them to reach for it.
Right.
But I don't know what they value. Some of these players, maybe they don't agree with Mel Kiper's and his rankings. But if they see a guy there and
Sure.
there's some guy that they know that they've evaluated, have scouted and evaluated a guy, and he's worthy of that, then absolutely take him because it's a position of need um, at that spot. Because again, Zach Ertz is not a long-term answer. We still don't know what Cole Turner is. And then Amani Rogers was hurt last year,
Right.
and we know
But he should be
Bates,
back, and he should be
but
back. And
we still don't know what he is. And Bates,
sure.
we know is not that pass catching tight end. So and again, Cliff Kingsbury maintains that his offense is different, but the people that want to continue to say that his style of offense, he has a 2 tight end set quite often.
Yeah.
So there's a need here. Again, not expecting them to reach for it, but it's something that I think they need to do.
Yeah.
With that, when we did our mock draft and was it with the BGO guys and stuff, we also saw that there was a run on tackles. And by the time Washington got to the 36th pick, there wasn't any tackles in that spot at 36 that was worthy of that pick.
Correct.
So my question to you is, that could easily be how the draft goes this year on Thursday and Friday.
Sure.
So do you think that Washington would trade back into the first round? And if they do, would it be for an offensive tackle?
I definitely think that if you hear them trading up, it would surprise me if it wasn't for an offensive tackle. I mean, maybe there's a wide receiver that slides that they really love. But I think it's got to be one of those two players. I'm sorry, one of those two positions, because those are going to be what I would call impact positions. Right now we don't have what I would call a legitimate who you want to start all season long at left tackle. And I think we have a glaring hole at the moment of somebody to line up next to Terry. And Terry he's approaching 30 years old. It seems like he's only been in the league for a few years, but we don't have anybody proven on the other side of Terry at this moment. And even if you want to say Jahan Dotson, who's our third wide receiver?
Ken, there's not a glaring hole opposite of Terry.
There is.
You could say there may be some inconsistency and some unproven. I will go as far as give you a little bit of unproven, but to say there's a glaring hole opposite of Terry is
a glaring hole of production.
It's reckless.
Opposite Terry. No, it's not
reckless on your part.
just there's nobody on our team that has half the numbers that Terry has. Not even half. I don't even have to go look.
Because we feed Terry. Come on, Ken. We feed Terry the ball, man. We what's the word I'm looking for here? We highlight Terry in everything that we do. We don't we don't get out here and go, let's spread it around.
Hold on. Terry hasn't been going crazy, right? We're not comparing Terry to the top 3 or 4 wide receivers. Right? I'm not calling him a bum by any means. But as of right now, the only what I would call weapon difference maker that we have on offense that's proven at this moment is Terry.
I agree, but you said there's a glaring hole.
I think there is a glaring hole at wide receiver.
I know you do, and I disagree, but
I'm not saying that Dotson can't fill that hole, but until he does, there's a hole. He's got the big P by his name of potential.
I think that's exactly what you're saying. You just didn't say it to now.
Of what?
that Dotson can't.
I don't know that he can. I'm not saying he can't.
Okay,
but he hasn't.
Listen,
my only point is he hasn't.
This reminds me of the Taylor Heineke debate. But I will say this: they will go and get another receiver. I have no doubt that they will. They absolutely will. To me, they will. I believe actually. I don't think they're going to stay put and pick at 36 and 40. One of those picks, I believe, will go towards trading this is my prediction, by the way. I think they will absolutely trade back into the first round, and it would be to do one of two things. Either they're going to go after one of those tackles that has slid due to some trades that happened early in the round, first round, or a particular player that has fallen, a la Jonathan Allen, right? Somebody has fallen in the draft, and they're going to trade up and go get that guy. Or it's going to be because they're going to trade up and to go get one of those tackles that has fallen. But my prediction is that when we leave Thursday night, I could be wrong, Ken. I could be wrong. But I think when Thursday night concludes, I think Washington would have 2 picks instead of 1 come that day.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I don't think we're going to have just the number 2 pick to talk about. I think it's going to be the number 2 pick, quarterback, and who they traded up to get. Probably a tackle, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's some player that they had rated high that has fallen. But I think it's going to be to come up and get one of those top tackles.
And they're probably going to have to give up both, depending on how far up they're moving into the first round, they're probably going to have to give up both their second round picks. But that's fine. If you walk away with a stud offensive tackle and a quarterback, you can look at it as one is first round, one is second round, because we picked up the extra second round pick. I wouldn't have a problem. You still have 3 picks in the third round to be able to go and get, some role players potentially. And maybe one of those role players, plays a little bit above where they are slotted and becomes something special.
But either way, we got a lot to look forward to. It's going to be exciting, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am definitely getting excited. I don't need much caffeine these days. Just as soon as I start thinking and looking, and I wanted to hurry up and get here because I'm tired of reviewing the boards and like I said, doing the NFL simulations. I'm not even going to do another one. Right?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
But I look at this prospect board versus that prospect board, and where people are going to slide. I think as I'm watching the first round, to your point of people sliding, every time after we pick a quarterback, I hope 6 more quarterbacks go, because every time that somebody takes a quarterback, every time that somebody takes a defensive tackle, every time somebody takes a tight end, that's our offensive tackles sliding a little bit further,
a little bit further. There's only be one tight end probably.
That's fine. That's fine. But I want.
But it's gonna be your wide receivers, your defensive linemen, and your quarterbacks is gonna be the reason those guys hopefully slide.
Yeah. So, like I said, everybody other than offensive tackle, you want to be taken after we take our quarterback, and you could end up. If Washington sees at number 25, there's still 3 or 4, let's just say 3 tackles. They may just roll the dice and go, we think one of these is going to fall.
No, there's too many tackle needy teams in that bottom half of the draft.
There's always needy teams, right?
But they're gonna have to go get, if they're gonna get a tackle in the first round, they're gonna have to go get him.
Yeah,
they can't sit and wait.
Again, it depends on what else is there. You look at a team that there might be a stud wide receiver there that starts sliding also. But we shall see.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's all I got, man. You got anything else?
No, we'll do a follow-up probably over the weekend. We're gonna Reggie and I are gonna get together, on Thursday, Friday, and see how everything goes and get happy and excited and high fives. And I might even be able to get Reggie to take a shot, a victory shot of the success that we're going to have.
Wait, you're going to get me to take a shot?
Oh, is that what I said? I'm sorry. I just reverse that.
Okay. We'll see, man. We'll see. But we'll be back. We'll do a post draft pod and give you our thoughts on how we did in the draft. But that's all I got, man. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe.
Tell your friends.
the usual.
Yeah.
Appreciate you listening.
Take the
y'all.
link, send it to your mom. She can listen. Peace out, knuckleheads.
Peace out, y'all.